Have one of those employees. The ones that are just aloof, disorganized, never seem to follow through on anything they say they're going to do. Say they're going to do something and they never seem to do it to the level that you've asked them to do it in the first place.
Thinking about just firing them. All right, so before you go firing anybody, we are going to be giving you some ideas. Maybe this person is not a toxic employee. They're not someone that just needs the nicks. Maybe it is a misalignment in your personality or your communication style. So we're going to go through the big 5 personality traits: openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. If any of those are in a misalignment, it can lead to big communication barriers. So we're going to delve into each of these 5 so you can get an idea if this is merely a misalignment in your personality or your communication styles.
The first part of the big 5 is your level of openness. You have somebody who is either high or low in this, and it's pretty easy to see it in someone. Though the person that you're struggling with and implementing change, who's resistant to it all the time, who you're like, hey, why don't you try this? And like, no, that doesn't sound really great, is low in openness. So what you want to do is you want to just make sure that you're acknowledging that characteristic of their personality. If somebody is low in openness, then change is usually more difficult for them. So what would you say to somebody who doesn't like change before you ask them to do something new? You might just acknowledge it and say, hey, I know this might be difficult for you, or I know that this is different and you might not like it, but let's have a conversation about it. So just by acknowledging the emotion that they are likely going to have by you asking them to do something different is a great starting point.
The next component to the big 5 is conscientiousness. So if you have someone that you would describe as aloof, or you're asking them to do projects and they're always missing details, missing deadlines, disorganized, you know, this can be a big frustration, but they may fall a bit lower on that conscientiousness scale versus the person who falls higher that's really running on the checklist, the goals, the objectives that you need to hit. Now, when that frustration comes up, we can just kind of change the way that we communicate. So it might be a matter of saying, hey, we really have to get this project done. This is the way that we can get it done, and maybe having a checklist or what it would look like as a complete project to really give those specific details to make sure that those needs are being met. If not, you are going to drive yourself crazy just giving the tasks and then being frustrated when the results don't meet that criteria that you were hoping to see.
The next part of the big 5 is your level of extroversion. And you're going to be more of an introvert or you're going to be more of an extrovert. Where this can show up in a conflict is usually in those group situations. So you might have somebody who had a brilliant idea and you're like, oh, can you make sure to share that with the whole team? And then they never do. And you're like, I really wanted you to share that great idea with everybody. Thanks a lot. Or can you help this new person out? Like help them learn the ropes and everything. And they're not willing to really speak up or take initiative on anything that you ask them to. They always consistently kind of step back and really don't jump into the projects that you're asking them to do. Again, this is just a personality conflict. We want to make sure that you're acknowledging somebody who is a little bit more of an introvert, that these situations make them uncomfortable, and only asking them to align with the tasks that align with their personality. Is there a more creative approach that we can give someone like this so that they can still obtain the task or complete the task in the way that you've asked them without also completely conflicting with their personality?
Agreeableness is the characteristic of pretty much how likely are you to agree with a request that's being made for you or agree with information that is being provided to you. So on one end of the spectrum, you have the person that is like the yes man. So anything you ask them, it's yes, most definitely, I'll get on that. I'll make that happen. I will do that. But then there might not really be that follow through. The task may not ever actually get completed.
For someone who is high in agreeableness that you know and you've just uncovered now within their personality that they're quick to say yes, when they say yes to something, ask for more of a conversation after that. So ask them what they're agreeing to and what they're comfortable with about that and how do they plan to do it. because they are just saying yes to be a people pleaser. What we want is then for them to brainstorm and come up with the actual steps that they're now going to take upon what they just agreed on. That's a great way of just making sure that things that they agree to are actually going to happen.
Now, on the other end of that spectrum, you have the person that is low in agreeableness. They are the person that really challenges kind of each and every idea, every decision. There's always a consistent objection. If they are more so on that lower level of agreeableness and there's always the objections, it's really focusing in on having those conversations, uncovering maybe there is a flaw in the plan that's about to be implemented that we can save frustration by just listening to those objections, finding the gold in them and coming up with some solutions before we implement it. However, we then also have to kind of take that step and move forward. So knowing that we had the conversation, that we kind of covered those bases, and that everyone knows what is expected of them for the project or the task at hand. And then you can also use agreement statements for those people that fall more on the lower level of agreeableness, is finding things that you agree on. We agree that patient care is the focus of our practice.
Yes, we do.
We agree that we really want growth within the team.
Yes, we do.
So we can agree that implementing this technology is going to help us to get to that point.
Yes, we do. Oh, I see what you did there. The last one is neuroticism, which really relates to your level of emotional responsiveness. A highly neurotic individual usually runs worst case scenario through their head more frequently than somebody who's lower end. This might be the person who, when you have a patient running 5 minutes late, everybody else seems to not have an issue with it, but this person always spirals out of control afterwards. And what we want to do is we want to start honing in on those individuals and why they're feeling that way and try to find a way that we can comfort them. It takes a big step when you can just empathize with them. When's the time that you've kind of spiraled into that worst case scenario situation? And what can you say to them to help them? So just by looking at them and saying like, hey, if anything happens after this, if you do start to run behind, I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. That alone, just some reassurance alone can kind of level it out. And then the day continues as normal. Okay, you have a person in mind for this. I know you do. There's somebody, the reason why you're watching this video is there is somebody who is falling into one of these categories. Does it make sense that it's possible that there is a personality conflict? And is there another way for you to approach conversations with this person? Hopefully, just by going through the big 5 personality traits alone is a way for you to just kind of take a step back and look at the situation from a different lens. And we hope that this is a way for you to kind of resolve some of that conflict that is happening within your business. If you have any specific situations that you're like, how would you approach this? Know that we are always here for you, the Dental MVP, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel.